module. But yeah, to learn advanced also you need to know basics. So everything starts from here. Okay. Let's start with the first module, Introduction to Python Programming. In Python, you have so many labs, guys. So make sure you complete everything on time. Okay, guys? Today, at the end, I'll check your progress also, whether you're doing your labs or not. So the first module we start, Introduction to Python Programming. What is programming? What is a program? We learned previously what a program is. Tell me. What is a program? An automated task. Okay. System is not a program, Anatika. So program we learned, guys. Still you are unable to answer. In Linux also we learned. Set of instructions given to a computer, given to a system to perform some specific task. Now do you remember? Don't forget this. Yes, instructions we give to our machines. Yes, Faris, that's right. So a program is a set of instructions given to a computer to perform some specific task. Okay, so hold this. When we create these set of instructions, we write scripts. This is known as programming, right? So here in this model, we are going to define programming, explain the function and features of an integrated development environment, describe the cycle of programming. Okay, so cycle of programming as in first we create program, right? And then what we do, if there is some error, we make the program error free and then again run it. So everything is fine. We get the desired output, right? So one of the purpose of programming is automation, guys. Okay, just like I told you previously, to automate certain tasks, we write programs, we write scripts, right? These scripts that we write, okay, they have some specific task, and the task here is automation to automate certain processes, certain tasks, for example, backing up your data, scanning your systems, right? Updating your systems, upgrading the OS, patching, all right? So automation refers to any technology that removes human interaction from a system, equipment, or process. So in automation, there is no human interaction. So that is the reason why we create these scripts that runs automatically and the task is performed, right? So it removes human interaction from a system, equipment, or a process. Scripts are often written to automate labor intensive tasks and streamline workflows. So we automate such tasks, for example, some repetitive tasks. Okay. Before you automate a process, consider the following: how much automation is needed to achieve your goal? Identify the proper processes to automate, find the balance between over automation and under automation. So, you should not use automation too much, also, not less. So, there should be a balance between it. Okay. Over automation and under automation. Don't automate a bad process. So, all these things are to be taken care when we automate certain tasks. Now, let's see what is a programming language. So, I hope you all know that our systems only understands binary, zeros and one. Okay. And there are so many programming languages that exist. One of them is Python that we are going to learn now. Okay. So, programming language, again, we in all these programming languages, they have their own certain syntax and their own, keywords, identifiers that we use. Okay, so the concept is same in each programming language. Concept as in, just like how we learn loops and flow control, conditional statements. Remember, if else, nested if else, for loop, while loop. The concept of that is same. It's just the syntax. It is different in every programming language. Okay, functions that we use in these programming languages. Okay, so each programming language has its own syntax. A programming a programming language is a language that communicates our instructions to the computer. Okay, and in the computer there is a interpreter or compiler present that converts this programming language into machine understandable language that is binary, so that our system understands the instructions that we are passing to it. Okay, possible instructions can be to perform some calculation, analyze some text, read and write files, display an image on the screen, or accept input from the users. How a software is written? It is written in a text file, normal files. So the software is written by using a computer language, a programming language. So to write these programs, to write these software, these scripts, we use text editors. In Linux, usually we use, for example, in Linux, we used Vim text editor to write Linux shell scripting scripts, right? So there are some text editors that include the features that help programmers write code. For example, we have Microsoft Visual Studio Code, Sublime Text, V or Vim Text Editor, Nano, GNU, Notepad++, Text Edit. All these are different types of editors that are available that we can use to write our softwares. So software is written by using text file. It is written by using a computer language. Microsoft Word is not a text editor, guys. Okay. Software is written by using a computer language. Many different languages exist. Each language has its own grammar and syntax, common uses, and community. For example, Python, JavaScript, C Sharp, C++ are some example of programming language. So as we just learned that each programming language has its own syntax, has its own grammar. It's like human language. Programming languages also have punctuations. In programming language, we have operators and delimiters. Grammar, we have syntax and structure. Vocabulary, we have keywords and identifiers. Okay, so each language has all these elements: operators, delimiters, syntax, structure, keywords, and identifiers. Now, next is integrated development environment. So, what is this environment? Integrated development environment is an environment where you are able to create your program, debug it, and run it. So you do all these tasks in the same at the same platform. That is what integrated development environment is. So you're able to build your code, you are able to debug your code, and you are able to run your code. So when you're able to perform all these tasks on the same platform, that is what the integrated development environment is. So we have a service in AWS that is Cloud9, which you will be using in your labs in Python modules. Okay, so the environment is already created in your labs in Cloud9. Okay, you just have to go and use it. All right. So integrated development environment is an environment in which you are able to build your code, debug it, and run it at the same platform, in the same environment. So an IDE can tell you which words are spelled incorrectly. So Since you are able to build your code, debug it, and run it, so it helps us with many things. For example, it gives you recommendations. Okay, let's say you type something. Okay, there's a print function in Python. So you write PR, it is going to give you suggestion whether it is this function, so you can choose it from there. Just like how when we type text in our cell phones, the it comes no completion, what do you say that? uh, Text completion and
Suggestion.
suggestions, yeah, and there's some other word we use. I'm forgetting it. So same thing is here. Okay, so it can tell which words are spelled incorrectly, which phrases are unclear, and syntaxes that you wrote incorrectly. That is why you are able to debug it also. So most IDEs will suggest a fix for the issue. Some IDEs work with only one language, such as PyCharm. PyCharm is an integrated development environment specifically to run Python. Okay, you cannot use it for some other programming language. It will not error for Java or C Sharp to you. Since it is integrated, it is only dedicated to for Python. You'll not be able to see errors related to other programming languages here. Okay. Now we have two things, compiler and interpreter. Guys, I'll be back in a minute. Just a second, guys. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, so we have compilers and interpreters. Both of them perform the same task, that is to translate programming language into machine understandable language, that is binary. They both do the same thing, but the compiler does it all together. First, it will compile the code and then it will translate into machine understandable language, that is binary codes. But when we use interpreter, when there is interpreter, it translates the code line by line. Okay, that is the difference between compiler and the interpreter. So both compiler and interpreter take the high level language that you are developing in and turns it into low level machine code, binary codes. Compiler do this process all at one time after changes are made. So first it compiles the code and then translates it. Okay. But before it runs the code. So first it will compile it and then it runs the code. But interpreter runs your code line by line. Okay. So you write one line, it will change it into machine code and then you can run it. So interpreter do this one step at a time while the code is running. Okay. So Python is an interpreted language, guys. Python uses interpreter. Okay. So here are some examples of compiled and interpreted languages. We have C, C++, Basic, Golang. All these languages are compiled, and we have Python, Ruby, JavaScript. These all are interpreted languages. Okay, so Java. If we talk about just Java, Java is compiled language, guys. Okay. Now, run, debug, correct software. So this is how software is made. Okay, so it is an iterative process. Developing a software is an iterative process. You write a little, test it, then write little more, test it. That is how it keeps on repeating. Okay, the cycle keeps on repeating. So we must run. You must run your program often. Next, find the exact line that does not work. As in, okay, if you wrote a program, you wrote some script, let's say you wrote a program. If there is some error, you fix it and then run the program again. That is how you come up with the desired output, the final product, the final software. So it is an iterative process, guys. Developing a software is a iterative process. It keeps on going. The all the phases in software development life cycle, they keep on coming. So you must run your program often. Next, find the exact line that does not work. Next, fix the problem. Finally, continue working on your program. That is how you build a software. You develop a software. So software is written iteratively. That's what I told you. We write a little, test it, fix what doesn't work, test it, write a little more, test it. So you can see the cycle keeps on going until unless the final product is ready. Okay, and that also it does not stop there. Okay, then comes the maintenance. Okay, just like how after developing a software there are updates available for that software. So it's never ending job, guys. Okay, there can be issues with the new updated version. Then again we will solve that errors, right? So this process is an iterative process. Developing a software is an iterative process. Now let's talk about categorize a value as a data type. So what do you mean by data type? Anyone who can tell me? What do you mean by data type? Right now we're not discussing Python. Before you we reach Python, reach before we start with Python, there are some basic things that you need to know. That is why we are covering all these. Okay, so what do you mean by data types? It's the type of data that you're using. For example, it can be an integer, a boolean value, true, false, a string value, okay, a float value, decimal values, right? So it defines the type of data you are using. That is what the data type is. Okay. So we use data types in programming language to tell our system what type of data it is. Okay, and what to do with this type of data. If we are using integer, let's say I'm using two integer values 2 and 3, and I want to add this value, so my system will know this is an integer. What operation to do here, how to add 2 plus 3 and give you 5. So it's to tell our systems that this type of data is an integer. All right. So our system knows how to interpret such values. Okay. So let's see what all data types we have. We can categorize a value as a data type. What value basically when we use variables? Do you remember variables from Linux? how we define variables in Linux. Key value pair, we use the key and equals to, and then the value we defined for that key. Do you remember variables? Variables are containers to store values. Do you remember? Yes, same thing, same concept here, guys. So that is the value that they are talking about here. Categorize a value as a data type. So the value that we store for our variables, it can be of any data type. It can be a string, integer, float, boolean, okay, long. So here, let's see, we're going to define term, data type, correctly match data types or to data, assign values to variables and variables to data types. So what is a data type? Data type is the classification of a value that tells the computer how the programmer intends the data to be interpreted. For example, 45 is an integer. This is long. When you have long integer. 1.02 is a float value. Decimal values are float values. We have two Boolean data types, true and false. Here, T is capital, in false, F is capital. Remember this, okay? Little things. Then again, this is a string. Strings for to define strings, we always use quotes, guys. Double quote, single quote, and triple quote. Okay. So when you see a data type enclosed in quotes, that means it's a string. Similarly, the last one, 45 is enclosed in string. So that is it. That means it is a integer. It is not an this is a string. Sorry, it is not an integer. Why? Since it is enclosed in quotes. Understood? So integer is any value, guys. Okay, any number. And when you see the same number in decimal, it is float. And when you see long numbers, okay, we call it long. Boolean is true and false, and string. So why must the type of data be tagged? So that is how they are getting stored in the memory in our systems, basically. So as you know, in our system, everything is 0 and 1. So in memory, everything consists of zeros and ones. Memory as in our systems. Systems memory. Just a second, guys. Yes, guys. So where were we? In memory, everything consists of zero. Data typing tells the computer how to encode a data value into the memory and how to decode it out of the memory. Okay. For example, we have one. Okay. So in the memory, this is how it's getting stored. Okay. Similarly, true. Similarly, this value 65. This is an integer. True is boolean. One again integer and A is string. So here okay, these data types they tell our basically it tells our systems how to interpret these values, how to work on these values that we are storing. Okay, so here we have a few data types. You have to identify them. So send your answers in the chat quickly. Identify these data types and share your answers in the chat. Quickly do this. Why does Python use double and character for data type? No, it doesn't use double and char character. Python doesn't use these data types, Maria. In Python, we use string, float, boolean, integer, long, these data types. Okay.
Okay, thank you, madam.
Yeah. Or those are used in Java. Everyone, send your answers. I'm waiting. The first one is a string, float, long, boolean, and then string again. Okay. True is enclosed in quotes here. So it's a string value. Now let's talk about variables. Variable is an identifier in our code that represents a value in the memory. We use variables to store some values. Okay, these are containers to store values, right? That is what we learned. So variable is an identifier in our code that represents a value in memory. The variable name helps human to remember what the value means. For example, days on job, value is 1. Is coder true? So this is boolean data type and this is integer. So this is how it is going to store in the memory. So to define variables in Python, it's very easy. We just use the key, then assignment operator equals to, and then the value. And there is space before and after this assignment operator, okay, equals to. Very easy. We don't use, for example, just like in Java, we use it. We define the data type first, and then we define the variable. For example, we tell in Java we tell our system that it's a boolean data type. So we define boolean is quarter is equals to true here. So that means it knows that this value that we are storing for our variable is coder is a boolean data type. Okay, it's not like this in Python interpreter knows the data type. Okay, for example, when we use true and T is capital and then RUE, it knows that this is a boolean data type. So this is how we define a variable in Python, guys. Its coder is equals to true. VB.NET uses like this, days on job is equals to 1, and then some other languages you can see. Okay. Assigning a data type to a variable. Okay. We use key values, key value pair. We have the key and then we define the value. So some languages expect the data type to be included when first using the variable. For example, here in Object C and Java. Int days on job 1, boolean is coded true. But in Python, we don't need to define. Some languages infer the data type based on the value that is assigned. For example, in Python, we have this variable count, which is equals to 10. So it knows that it is an integer data type. Okay. So you have Swift here, var days on job 1, TypeScript let is quarter is equals to true. But Python is very simple, guys. You can see. Just remember the space before and after the assignment operator. Okay. So here's another activity for you guys. You have to decode this basically. You have to use this table ASCII table to decipher the following message. There's a message here. You have to use this table to decipher the message. Okay, so do it now and share your answers in the chat. Use ASCII table to decipher that message, guys. Okay, and share your answers in the chat. Use this table to decipher this message, guys. Okay, and share your answers in the chat. Shall I send you the link? Or you'll be able to open on your own. And use this one. Use this table. Okay, you have to specify these characters. It associates encoding characters into computers. For example, 72. 72 is H, character H. Okay, understood how you need to do this. Decipher it and share your answers in the chat, guys, quickly.
Madam, I have a
Mhm.
question. How about if the user want to declare the char character, like in Java, for the character of A, B, we use
Character is
char.
string only, no? There.
Oh, without the quotation?
Yes, you have
Oh,
to include the quotations.
uh, I mean like without the single
It's
quotation.
the character in Java is string here.
Oh, character in Java is string here. Okay, thank you,
Yeah,
madam.
no worries. Guys, do it fast. Okay, so let's move on. The answer is, have you seen my car keys? Now, moving on, we have combined values into composite data types. So, here we are going to learn how to define composite data types, identify composite data types from a list of properties, list the attributes of a function, define different types of collections, combine values into a composite data types. So what is a composite data types? Until now, you have used primitive data types. Primitive data types, as in data types that are built into coding language with no modification, just like string. Okay, can you modify once you have defined the string, the value string? No, you cannot modify it. Okay, so that is what primitive data type is, and composite data type is what that is composite data type. You can say it combines multiple data types into a single unit. So in Python, we have composite data types, guys. Okay, we have list, tuple, and dictionary. Okay, um, are few composite data types in which we can store multiple data types. Okay, when we create such composite data types. So primitive data types that are built into coding language with no modification, such as integer, boolean, string, okay, float. And composite data types, it combines multiple data types into a single unit. All modern programming languages have a way to create composite data types. Okay, for example, movie. When we define a movie, we define the movie's name, that will be in string, the year in which it was released, integer value, and flag, whether we have seen it or not. So it can be Boolean value here, true or false. So we are using three types of data types here: string, then integer, and then Boolean. Right? So this is what a composite data type is, when you are able to combine multiple data types together. So each movie could be described with a name. Data type would be a string. A year that it was released, data type would be integer, and then flag to indicate whether you have seen it or not. So it would be Boolean, right? So it combines three data types: string, Boolean, and integer. That is what composite data type is. Another example here: name, creation time, and extension is read only, length. Just example, guys, okay? We are combining more than one data type here. Another example: top, height is empty, left, location, right, bottom, size, width. All these values, they use different types of data types. When combined, it forms a composite data type. Another example: age, culture, description, gender, name, supported audio formats. These all are composite data types. Okay, their values can be combined, multiple values, multiple data types can be combined to form a composite data type. Now let's talk about function. What do you mean by function? Anyone who can tell me function? What is a function? Yes, Harith. Mohammad Harith, tell me what is a function?
It's like a reusable block of code that can,
Yes,
yeah.
that's right. Yes, function is a method, but what is it? It's a block of code, guys, that we can use repeatedly. We create functions and we can use it anytime we want. Okay. So it's a block of code. Okay. So it's like a reusable block of code that only runs when we call it. So function only runs when we call them, guys. That's why when we ever we use functions, we use these brackets after the function's name to call them. Okay. So it's a block of code, reusable block of code that only runs when we call it. So these functions, they do something useful. For example, in Python we have this built-in function print. Okay, just like echo in Linux. Do you remember echo command in Linux? It prints whatever you type with echo. Just like that, we have print function here in Python. Okay. So we know what this function will do. For example, another example can be when you want to add two numbers, add function, sum function, count values, count function, right? So they do something useful. They can return a value. So when we add two numbers, it is going to return us some value, no? So functions return a value. Functions can return a value based on the input we are giving. So for example, we want to add 2 plus 3. So I'm giving the input 2 and 3. I want to add them, right? And then it is going to return 5, right? So functions can accept values and as input also. Just like when you run the function, that is when you pass if the values, okay, for the functions. Okay, so there are, if you remember, I told you about arguments and parameters. So that is what they are referring here. Okay, when we pass the arguments that we want our function to act on. So functions can accept many values as input, or a developer can create a composite data type. Composite data types can be returned using functions. Composite data type can be an array. Now we'll talk about array in some time. First, let's just define all this one by one. So first is functions do something useful. For example, clear screen function. Clear screen function, you read the name and you know what is going to do. It is going to clear the screen, right? And then functions can return a value. For example, pi is equals to calculate pi. So it knows the pi's value 3.14 something it is, no? 41 or 14. So that's the pi value 24, 22 by 7, right? That is pi value. So it is going to return pi value here. Return functions can return a value based on the input. For example, input we are passing here. We are having these arguments here, pi and 4. It is going to use pi and 4 to calculate area. For example, circle area. Pi r square. That's the formula to calculate circle area, right? So pi value it knows. And for radius, it is going to take 4. So pi r square. Pi r square, r is 4 here. So 4 square, right? That is how it is going to calculate it. So functions can return a value based on input values. Input values, for example, here are pi and 4. And then functions can accept values as input. For example, here, this function is accepting value as input. For example, area. So show value area. So area is defined here. Okay. So this is just an example, guys. This is not the exact code. Just an example to tell you what a function is. Okay. And how we use them. So they can accept values and input. They can accept many values and input. For example, here we just use a single value area. Now here we are using many values. Okay, latitude, longitude, speed, and so on. You can see here, right? Many values are, passed as input to this fly function here. Or a developer can create a composite data type. Using function, a developer can create a composite data type. Composite data type, for example, here, it uses aircraft. So to define aircraft, we need all these data types, all these data types values. So they can be of different data type, latitude, longitude, speed. So to write all these values, we use different data types. Okay, some of them will be integer, some of them will be string, some of them will be boolean. Okay. And so when we pass composite data type, it can return composite data type also. Okay, for example, aircraft future is equals to predict aircraft now 60. So composite data type can be returned. So it returns all this, okay, values here. Lastly, composite data type can be an array. So here, for example, we use arrays in Python. We use list, dictionary, and tuple. So all the values that we pass for list, tuple, and dictionary, they are indexed. So array values are indexed, guys. Okay, so array are used again to store multiple values only. Okay, it's a type of data type only. It is used to store multiple values. So array items are indexed. So index, the first item will have index 0. So it starts from index 0. So for example, let's say array is equals to, let's take three values, Tanya, okay, and then ABC and uh, XYZ, okay, three values. Okay, any data type, I'm just giving an example. So the first item is Tanya in this array. So Tanya index value is 0. So array index value starts from 0. So first item is going to have index 0. Second item is going to have index 1. Okay. So arrays are again another type of data type. Okay. And array items are indexed, guys. We use arrays to store multiple values only. Now moving on, we have collection. A collection groups multiple values in a single variable. Different type of collections are available. Okay, we have arrays, vector, list, set, queue, dequeue, hashes, dictionaries. These all are example of collection. So these collection also, they store multiple values in a single variable. We define a single variable to store, to define this variable's value. We use different types of data types, multiple values, for example, and these multiple values can be of any data type. These variables are used to store multiple values, for example, array or list. So, and the values that we store, the multiple values we store for these collections, array, list, okay, they can be of any data type. I'll tell you when I show it to you practically, then you will understand. This is just theory, guys. So here you can see, let's define array. This table shows a basic array of ages. Each age is assigned a slot and is of the same data type and is adjacent to the previous age and next age in the memory. The first slot is almost always 0 in every language. Notice that the values do not need to be in any order. So array items are not ordered. So we have the first value, that is 87, then 10, 2, 46, 22, 19, and 66. All these are integer data types. Okay. So 87 is index 0. The second item in our array is 10. So it is index 1. So array is a again type of data type only that we use to store multiple values, guys. Remember, okay? So this is how we create array. So we have all these values, all integer only here. 87 is index 0, 10 is index 1, then index 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in this array, how many number of items we have here? Total number of items in this array are 7, right? So if I want to, let's say I want to tell me index 2. What is the index value for item number 4? It is index 3. Why? Because we start from 0 index here. So array items are indexed, guys. Index, we start from index 0 always. Remember. Now talking about list. In Python, we have list data type. Lists are also used to store multiple values, and these values can be of any data type. Okay. For example, when we create this list, we have John 55 true, male, Carlos 22 male. You can see first string, then we have integer, boolean, string, integer, and then again string. Different data types we are using to create this list. So lists are also a type of data type in Python, guys. Okay, we use list to store multiple values, just like here we have a list. Okay, so Python list is an ordered collection of items. So all these items in the list are ordered. Okay, they are ordered. Each item can be of different data type. Items can be accessed using an index. So if I want to access the value male, okay, for example, this one, okay, I will refer to its index value, that is 3. Okay, so when I refer to its index value 3, I know it is going to fetch me this value male. Okay, when we want to access items from a list, we can refer to their index value. Items can have duplicate values. In list, duplicate values are allowed. Okay, another feature of list it is. Okay, so I'll show it to you how we do all this in some time. We haven't started Python yet. Okay, so before we start, follow the example of a program. I'm going to take your attendance, guys. Switch on your camera. Switch on your camera, everyone. Raida, Ayman, Farida. No, Christina, switch on your camera. Nadira, okay. Sita, Ahmad Faris. Why you haven't fixed your webcam yet? Get it fixed. Lucidina,
Present, madam.
Alexander,
Present.
Zakia,
Present.
Zahiru,
Present.
Alawi,
Yes.
and Atika,
Present, madam.
Azik,
Present.
Siti Umaira, Siti Umaira. Okay. Nurain,
Present.
Farida,
Present.
Adam Ayman,
Yes.
Kelvin,
Present.
Daniel,
Present.
Nabila,
Present.
Naili,
Present.
Hamdan Ahmed, Hamdan Ahmed, Amirul,
Present.
Farid,
Present.
Ilham,
Yes.
Angela, Jinghan, Jinghan. Jinghan. Absent. Present. Jinhang.
Yes.
Nurul Hafiza. Nurul Hafiza. Ahmed Faris.
Present.
Zulharis. Mohammad Zulharis.
Present.
Balkis. Naim. Mohammad Naim. Why are you not saying yes, present, anything? Ahmed Kamal. Ahmed Kamal. Ahmed Kamal. Absent. But he's present. Aisha. Aisha Fika. Aisha Fika. Mutatal.
Present.
Sita.
Present.
Is present. Ahmed Faris.
Present.
Maria.
Present.
Ahmed Tajbeen.
Present.
Nadira.
Present.
Raida. Noor Raida. Sophia.
Present.
Noor Kistina.
Present.
Fazliana.
Present.
Nigel.
Present.
Noor Afika.
Present.
Sam.
Present.
Yongshin.
Present.
Tuan Shiazwan.
Present.
Aisha Dina.
Present.
Ola. Is he back?
Present.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, present.
All right. Nurul Aiza.
Present.
Matthew. Theo.
Present.
Noor Aisha. Yazid.
Present.
Present. Bye bye. Naziha Atira.
Present.
Shiazwan Zulhilme.
Present.
Okay, guys, let's have a break. After break, we'll start from here. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, madam.
Evening.
Good evening. All right. So, guys, let's continue. Now we have the execution path of a program. In this, we are going to learn how to explain an execution path. What an execution path is, describe the use of different type of flow control mechanism, loops, conditionals, and switches. First of all, guys, this first module is just the introduction thing. We are not covering anything. This is just the introduction part. Okay, we are going to cover all this in details in coming modules. Okay. So here, what does execution path mean? Okay, so execution path means that the sequence of steps that a program performs when it runs. So as you know, a program is a set of instructions given to a computer to perform some specific tasks. So it runs in a defined way. How we write it, how we create our scripts, right? So these are sequence of steps that the program perform when it runs. Okay, so usually scripts have conditional statements, loops, right? So conditional statements or control flow statements like the program might come to an either or choice. Okay, either or, that means if else, right? Come to multiple choices, nested if else, and perform work on each item in a loop. For loop and while loop. That is what they are talking about here. The program must be able to predict what those steps will be when they write the code initially, when they debug the problem that they encounter. So we have three conditional or control flow statements, guys. All programming languages have a way to either to choose an either or path in the code. If guess is greater than the number, print too high. If it is less, too low, else print. So this is nested if, and else, right? And then for example here, if name is yuan, bonus is 300, else bonus is salary multiplied by 0.1. You remember from Linux, control statements or control flow statement, conditional statements. Concept is same, right? It's just the syntax that is different, right? So if else, and nested if else, we have three control flow conditional statements, guys. And then it may come to multiple choices also. Okay, for in that we have switches. Most programming languages have a way to conveniently handle multiple possible cases of a value. Okay, for example, a switch sign, case stop, press break, case merge, accelerate, case exit, deaccelerate, default, ignore. So we have multiple choices here, multiple possible cases here, right? Three cases. Fourth one is default here. And then loops, for loop, while loop. Just like in Linux, we learned loop, right? For loops for a defined number of times. Do you remember? For loop from Linux, shell scripting, same concept here, same. Okay, so for example, we have defined this list here. I have this is a list. It has three values, three items here. Names is equals to y Nikki Aqua. For name in names, new name is equals to capitalized name. print new name. So the output of this will be, it is going to change all these item in the list in uppercase. That is it. So it runs for specific number of times for loop. That is what we learned here in Linux also. Okay, so for loop loops for a number of times. So number of times we are taking from this list. So it will run for all these three items in this list. Okay, I'm going to show you using different examples. For example, another example here for employee and employees. We haven't defined these employees here, but yeah, just an example. So it runs for the number of times we have these employees. It is not defined. Employees is not defined here, guys. Just an example here. So remember for loops for a defined number of times. Okay. And then we have version control. Version control, basically, it's a system when you are able to store multiple versions of your software. Okay, for example, you must have heard about Git and GitHub. GitHub is an online version control system, version control platform where you can store different versions of your softwares. So here you're going to learn how to explain the need of version control, explain the basics of Git, explain the difference between Git and GitHub. Version control and collaboration. Version control system is a software that tracks versions of your code and documents as you update them. Version control can be done locally on your computer. So when we do it locally, we use Git. And when we use a website that is dedicated to saving these versions, it is GitHub. GitHub is that website, okay? Online repository. So collaboration is doing version control, but in the cloud or on a dedicated website so that multiple people can work on a project. GitHub is the example. Now we have advantages of version control. It helps in error tracking, security, ease of access to project changes. Since everyone is able to access the code now, right? They can work on their part and save it for the next person. Utilizing cloud infrastructure, the cloud or dedicated website is useful for storing changes in the cloud. Version control that is only on a local computer can be easily lost. If it is more secure than saving multiple versions of a Even if it is more secure than saving multiple versions of a file. Data that is stored in the cloud has a reduced risk of being lost. We have these version control tools. Several version control tools are available: Git and GitHub, GNU Arc, Mercurial. Okay. More version control tools exist, but the one that this course focuses on is Git and GitHub. So Git, we can install the Git bash in our systems, guys, which you can use to store multiple for version control, basically locally on your systems. You can install this Git bash. You can install the Git tools, add files to your repository, edit files in a Git repository once you create here. You can also clone an existing repository, create and merge branches, rewrite history in a Git repository, resolve merge conflict. An example is given here. If you want to install Git, you can install it from its website about Git. Install the Git tool from the website. Once you have installed the Git tool, you can open the CLI that gets installed, Git bash. Let me show you. This is how it looks like, Git bash. It is a version control tool that you can use on your systems locally for version control, guys. Okay. So it accepts all the Linux commands that we learned in Linux. All right. For example, mkdir is used to create a new directory. Remember mkdir. So here they are creating a new directory, mkdir git test. I already have this. If I use ls, it is going to list all my files and directories here. So git directory I have already created here. You can see here. So I can go to this directory by cd git. It is git test. Git test is available. So I have changed my directory to git test. Can you see now? Okay. So here they are running git init to create a local git repository here. So they are using git init command here. Then ls command, okay, to list all the files here. Very easy. So if I directly use this, it has these files aa.text, new file.text, new file.text. That is what they create here, empty file. And then they open this file in nano editor, guys. Okay. All this you have learned in Linux, guys. Okay. All these commands, if you remember. Okay. Then enter any text you want in that file. Then in the terminal, they check the status by using git status. So this is just an example to show you how git we run this local tool in our systems. Okay, git bash. Okay, for version control. Okay, so how we commit changes. Okay, all this is given here. So just give it a read, you will understand, and no need to install it. Okay, because you will not be using it. All right, so don't need to install it. This is just an introduction. Okay, so then we also have this GitHub. GitHub is an online repository, guys. It's a repository hosting service. It uses repositories and the same commands at the terminal. It's like Linux. Okay, so you have a lab for this one where you will be using GitHub. Okay, where you will publish all your Python programs that you will be creating in GitHub. You will create your own account there. So it is an online version control system tool, guys, that you will be using. You have a lab for this, don't worry. So we'll go through all these topics in details now, guys. This was just the introduction thing. Okay. So here we have the Cloud9 reference. It doesn't open, it never opens this module. Let me just check again if it opens now. Then we have the first module, Python programming. Here we start Python. From here from this module we start Python, guys, basically. Okay. So know that Cloud9 is an integrated development environment in AWS. So IDE service in AWS, Cloud9. Okay. This module, this page, it never opens here. I'm going to show you later on. By the time it opens, it will be late. Okay, so let's start with Python programming, guys. Okay. So Python programming, introduction to Python now. We start with Python. In this module, we are going to learn what Python is, list reasons for using Python, list example of programs that can be used to write Python code, compare Python to shell scripting, recognize the purpose of AWS Lambda. It's this one. Now, what is Python? Python is free, easy to learn, general purpose programming language, guys. And it is interpreted language, guys. It uses interpreter. Okay. So the interpreter enables fast exploratory programming since it uses interpreter. Dynamic typing makes it easy to write quick scripts. It supports dynamic typing. Python syntax is simple when it is compared to other programming languages. You will know why and how. Python can support object-oriented structure and functional programming styles. Okay, these are the reasons why someone would prefer Python over some other programming languages. Another reason to use Python is that it works across platforms. It works on Mac, Linux, Windows, and other platforms. Though Bash scripts can be powerful, they mostly run on Linux, right? Your Bash scripts only are supported on Linux systems, right? Unlike Python. So where can you write Python? Python can be written in any text editor if you have the interpreter also installed. It's just that you need to install the Python. You need to install Python in your systems, and you'll be able to run Python scripts in your systems system. Okay, you have to have this interpreter. Many developers use special programs that are called integrated environments, just like Cloud9 in AWS. IDEs help with finding syntax and exception errors. You will be working in this, okay, IDE in AWS Cloud9. Some example of programs that are used to write Python code, for example, we have this Visual Studio, Eclipse, PyCharm, Vim, Spider, and Notepad++. What is this integrated development environment? It's an environment where you are able to build your code, debug it, and run it on the same platform. Okay. So the following are core capabilities associated with IDEs. Syntax highlighting. It highlights keywords within the programming language. Okay. And keywords are predefined words that have certain meaning in our programming language, guys. For example, when we want to define a function, when we want to create our own function in Python, we use a keyword def, DEF. After that, the function name that we want to create. Okay, so these keywords, they have a special meaning. Okay, so that interpreter knows what to do with these keywords. So that is why it is preferred that we use keywords as name of our identifiers. Identifiers are the name of your functions, your classes. Okay. And these integrated development environments also help with code completion, similar to automatic completion for natural languages or modern cellular phone, just like that. Debugging enables line by line inspection of the code while it is running with breakpoint capabilities. Version control integrates popular version control system such as Git and Subversion. So these IDs, they also uh, helps us in syntax highlighting. For example, we have these keywords that are defined here in blue. Import keyword. Okay, we are importing this module here. Def keyword. Do you see? Return keyword. Okay, if else, all these are keywords. So declaration of functions, classes, and imports have similar color. Comments are colored green. And then all syntax highlighting is customizable. You can customize all these highlighting in your integrated development environments. Okay. All this you will understand when you once you work on your Cloud9. Functions are portrayed differently in a selection. Functions include arguments that are available. Okay, so function, as you know, it's a block of code. Okay, for example, here they're using this main function, right? And this print function. Can you see these integrated development environment? They also support debugging. Debugging is available. So there's a debugger in Cloud9. Okay, integrated development environment. There's a debugger present that will help you to debug your code, make your code error free. All right. So it has step through code line by line. You can step through code line by line. You can check your code line by line, inspect variables as you step, change values as you inspect. If one doesn't work, you can change it. Okay. Running Python applications. To run Python scripts, guys, we run it by using Python. For example, Python followed by the version. For example, I have Python 3 in my system. So I'm going to use it Python 3 followed by the file name that you want to execute, that you want to run. Understand? That is how we run Python scripts. Okay, and Python scripts are saved using .py extension, guys. Okay, we can run it from inside the IDEs also, integrated development environments also. However, if you must run your code or application, for example, make it available to user around the world or handle million of user, you need to use the Git hub online repository if you want others to work on your code. Okay. We also have this Lambda function. Lambda support Python. Okay, you can use Python in Lambda to create your own functions. So Lambda is a serverless compute service. You can upload your code to AWS Lambda. Okay, the code that you have developed using integrated development environment in AWS, that is Cloud9. Okay, you can upload your code to AWS Lambda. You can set up your code to trigger from an event such as user who is visiting your web page. Lambda runs your code only when it is triggered, and Lambda only charges you when your function is running. Okay, when your function is not running, it will not charge you. So it is, and it uses only the compute resources that are needed. You pay only for the compute time that you use when your program is running. That is when your function is running here. It supports multiple languages and Python is one of them. Okay. Here's an example. For example, user captures an image for their property listing. The mobile app uploads the new image to S3 bucket. So as soon as this image is uploaded to S3 bucket, it triggers a function, a Lambda function is triggered and calls another service that is Amazon recognition. Now the Amazon recognition retrieves this image from S3 and returns label for the detected property. This is how Lambda function is working here. Okay. It calls another service that is Amazon recognition to retrieve the image from S3 bucket and return labels for the detected property. Now we also have other tools like shell scripting, bash shell scripting. Shell scripting commands are run differently from the command line of an OS. They are available on any machine or on any OS without the need to install new software. Just like bash shell scripting. Did we install any software there? No, we just used the editor and we were able to run the scripts that we created. We were able to run the program that we created in bash shell scripting, right? We did not install anything, but it's just that they only run on Linux, right? So different environments require different syntax or type of shell scripting, such as bash or z shell. Each shell has its own commands that you can use. Okay. So is the comparison between a shell scripting versus Python. Shell scripting can be powerful tool for system administration and command line work, but it can be challenging when you want to use them for more complicated data structures. For example, Python can perform some actions such as creating an HTTP server in a single line. However, it could require many lines of code to do the same action in Bash. Python has many external libraries and resources. It is a complete programming languages. Okay, that is the reason why we would use Python over Bash. Okay. Okay, so now before we proceed further, we have this Cloud9 reference guide, guys. Okay, here. So Cloud9 is an integrated development environment in AWS. Okay, with Cloud9, you can write, run, debug your code with just a browser. Show you. With Cloud9, you have immediate access to a rich code editor, integrated debugger, built-in terminal with a pre-configured CLI. Cloud9, AWS Cloud9 EC2 environment come pre-packed with tooling for more than 40 programming languages. So this Cloud9, this integrated development environment runs on an EC2 instance. Okay, so EC2 instance is already running in your lab, on top of which this IDE is posted. Okay, environment is also created for you guys in the lab. You don't need to do anything. Cloud9 environment can be hosted on an EC2 instance or on your own server using Cloud9 installer Linux only. You can connect the Cloud9 environment to a source control management system such as Code Commit. So you can create an AWS Cloud9 environment directly from your CLI. In case the AWS Cloud9 environment and the EC2 instance are automatically created for you for the purpose of, in this case, you already have this instance running and it hosts your Cloud9. Okay. Everything is there in your lab. You don't need to launch an instance and then build this IDE. So in your lab, everything is given, guys. This is your lab's interface. Now let's talk about Cloud9 components. It has this menu bar at the top of the screen. You access the menu bar with commands to files, code, IDE, settings. Okay. It also has this left navigation tab where you'll be able to see all these files that you'll be creating. Okay. You also have this environment thing here, left hand side menu. And this section includes a list of files belonging to the current AWS Cloud9 environment. And source control also it has. You can use this source control to set up or clone a Git repository. You can use AWS Explorer to work with other AWS services. It also has this right navigation tab. The 3 tab on the right of the screen gives you access to the following: collaborate, and then it has this outline. Collaborate, you can use this option to interact with other members. You can invite members to work on the project using the share button and give them read and write access to the project. And then you have outline. You can use this option for quick access to a specific location in the file that is currently opened. Okay, and then it also has this debugger. You can use this option to set up through the code, watch variables, and explore these stacks. Debugger is available. You will be using it in your lab. And terminal is available, just like CLI. At the bottom of the screen, the console gives you access to the terminal where you can run your commands. Okay. You can create your first program here. You have this run option here. You can navigate to run with menu to see the list of default runner configurations. Here you can see it has all the languages that it support. Okay. You can save your files. I'll tell you all this. Okay. Debugger is also present on the right of the screen. You can select the debugger and select the file that you want to debug. Okay. You can add expressions here, watch expressions. Then you can run, save the file. Okay. And so and so. Nothing more here. They just tell you how to use the integrated development environment, IDE, Cloud9. This is Cloud9, guys. Okay. Environment is already created for you in your labs. So Cloud IDE for writing, running, and debugging code. Let me show you how it works. See this, it's already created. Okay, you just need to open this. Okay, so here you can see the left hand side menu, the right hand side menu. This is the debugger, guys. Okay, this is outline, collaborate, these are settings, and this is where you'll be able to see all your files that you create in your environment. This is the CLI. Okay, so let's first create a file. Okay, I'm going to create a Python file. I'm going to name it so let me write a simple program here. Hello world. So print function I'm going to use here. Print function works just like echo in Linux. We learned echo command. Do you remember? So with echo, whatever we used to type, it prints that. So it works just like that. Okay. So see here. So I will save this, save as. Yes, guys, I'm going to save it. Demo.py. Python files are saved using .py extension. Okay. I save this and let's run this script. I run it and here you'll be able to see the output. It will print hello world. See, it's right. Exit code is 0. That means successful. Okay. So print function is used to print whatever you pass here. So it just prints hello world. A simple program, Python program. Okay. So this is how we use it. You have all the tools here. So you are able to build your code, run your code, debug your code here only, everything here. This is the CLI provided here. So if I type this command here also, it will give me the same thing in the CLI. If I print hello and then press enter. Okay. So now I've opened the interpreter, Python interpreter here. I type hello. Will give me the output hello. Okay, so it's working just fine. This is just like CLI. Okay, same thing if I do in my this thing virtual machine. CLI and print hello. It gives me hello back. So it's working just fine, right? So this is a simple Python program, guys. Hello. Okay. So how do we define variables in Python? It's very easy. So how do we define variables here? It's very easy. Before and after this assignment operator equals to, we use space, guys. Okay, so I'm passing 25 integer value. And then when I print x here, it will give me 20. I'm sorry. Print x here, it is giving me 25. Since the value that I stored for x is 25, can you see when I print x, it gives me 25. This is Python, guys. Okay? If you have any doubts, anything you want to ask, please ask. Okay? This is how we define variables in Python. We can take you can take any example. For example, let's say I'm defining a variable name and I'm storing its value as a string, Tanya. And when I print name, it will give me Tanya. All right. This is how we define variables. Any data type you can use. Okay. Now, to know the data type of the variable, there's another function we use. Okay. For example, here I've defined name Tanya. It's a string value, you know. Okay. So to know the data type of this value, there is another uh, function we have, that is type function. Okay, type function is used to know the data type. So the type class str, that means it is a string value. Okay, same here. If I have x25 and then I use this type function with x now, it is going to give me integer. Since 25 is an integer, okay, so this is another method. Okay, we have in Python another function, type function, to know the data type. All right. Now, let's say I have this x is equals to 25. Now I want to change this 25 into float. This is an integer. I want to change this integer into float value. So how do we do this? We do this using the function float. Okay, so you will see now it is changed into float. You can see 25.0. It is changed into float value. Similarly, if you have a float value, let's check its type first. So it's a float value. Can you see? Now let's change it into integer. So I'm going to use int method here to change it into an integer. So you just get 56 here. It ignores everything after the point, basically, when we use this integer. Now this float value is changed into integer. Clear this much? Guys? Any questions so far? Anything you want to ask? Now let's go back to your modules and see what else we have there. Uh, you have many labs in Python, guys. Okay, for example, all these labs 108, 109. So when you open the first lab, to move to the next lab, you just scroll down. Okay, you will be able to see all the labs here. Okay, because if you open this lab, it will take you to this page only, 108 lab only. Okay, to move on to the next lab, you have to scroll down and then move to the next lab from here. Second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay, 17th. Remember this. Okay, let's start with our next module. We have Python programming basics. Okay. In this module, we are going to learn how to install Python on a Linux computer, define basic Python terminology, declare variables in a Python script, and perform operations on those variables, explain statement functions and exceptions. So system requirement for Python can be any system, Linux, Mac OS, Windows, guys. You can install Python from its source code on the from the Python website. You have all the instructions here. Okay, you need to install its interpreter to run the Python programs. Just a second, guys. All right, guys. So here are the instructions. You can install Python if you want to. Otherwise, labs, you already have labs to practice everything, guys. Okay. For your labs, you don't need to install anything. Everything is there because you will be running these scripts in Cloud9. Cloud9 already has Python installed. Okay. You can follow the instructions from here. Okay, it will help you to download Python. Now let's talk about Python syntax basics. Python uses indentation and spacing to group block of code together. Now what is indentation, guys? It's the white space. Okay. It uses indentation and spacing to group block of code together. If you get runtime error, check your spacing first. Next, check your indentation for any missing punctuation such as colon. Python is also case sensitive, so capitalization matters. So when we use Boolean data types true and false, in true T is capital, in false F is capital. So remember these little things. So it uses both indentation and it is case sensitive. Now, what are identifiers? Identifiers are the name of your functions, guys, variables, and classes in Python. It helps differentiate one entity from another entity. So that is why it is recommended to not to use keywords as identifiers, because keywords, they are already known to our interpreter, Python interpreter. We should not use keywords as identifiers. When you name objects in Python, you must observe some rules. An identifier cannot start with a digit. One variable is invalid, but variable one is valid. Keyword cannot be used as identifiers. You cannot use symbols like these in your identifiers. Identifiers can be of any length. So identifiers are generally name of the class, function, and variables we define in our scripts. Okay. So we use .py extension to save our Python files. The extension py is a script file extension that is used in Python. Files with .py extension can be created in any text editor. You need to they need a Python interpreter to be run. For example, I have Python installed here in my virtual machine. Okay, so I've opened the interpreter, Python interpreter. That is how I'm able to run all these commands, Python commands here. Python, you can see here, it gives me the desired output. Okay. And to exit from here, you just need to enter this function exit. And to check Python version, you can just simply use this command in your CLI. It tells you the Python version that is present in your system. So I've installed 2.7.5. This one is old. Right now, Python running Python 3 point something. Okay, the latest version. Python 3.10 something. Okay, so functions. A function tells the computer to do a specific task. Just like I used the print function here, right? So print 10. So it give me 10, right? So it's a block of code that belongs together. It tells the computer to do a specific task. Just like here, we are using print function. It is built-in function. Functions have a name and are invoked by adding parentheses after the name, just like here, print. Then we have these parentheses. Okay, so this print function is invoked using these parentheses after the print function name. Many functions take arguments. For example, 10 is an argument here, which are information that the function uses to do this, to do its specific task. So 10 here is an argument. One useful function is the print function. You can write your own function. We can create our own function. To create our own function, we use the keyword def, that we will learn later on, later module, how we define our own functions in Python. So here they are defining print function. Okay. Python also has native functions such as print that are already built in. So Python has many built-in functions. So here I showed you type function, print function, int, float, right? We can use Vim editor to edit our Python files, to create our Python scripts. Okay, just like how we created Bash shell scripts in Linux, guys. So if I want to list all the Python files here in my system, I have all these Python files. Okay, I've saved them using .py extension. You can see I have all these Python files in my current directory. Okay, so I can open these files in Vim editor. I have this script hello world.py. So this is what the script contains. You can see print hello world. So when I want to run this script, I run it using Python 3 followed by the script's name hello world.py. This is how we run Python scripts, and it runs the script and gives me the output that is hello world. Okay. This is the same thing. Now, to include comments in your Python scripts, we use this symbol, guys, hash symbol. Okay, comments are notes to yourself and to other developers. Comments describe the content of a program and how it works so that a person who reviews the source code can understand it. Use the pound symbol to start writing a comment. By starting a line of text with the symbol, you can tell the interpreter not to run this line of code. Just like in Linux, guys. In Linux also we used comments. So here also we can include comments in our scripts to define our scripts. Okay. So to include a comment, we start a line by using this symbol. So our interpreter ignores any line that starts with this symbol. It will not execute such lines. Okay. Talking about data types determine what kind of data is stored in an object. Python stores the type of an object with the object. When the operation is performed, it checks whether the operation makes sense of that object. This technique is called dynamic typing. Example, some functions or method in Python expect a certain data type. You cannot pass a string into a function that is expecting a float. Okay, so let's say I have a string value. I have defined a string value. You know, this is a string, right? It's a string value. So when I use print type x, I know it's a string value. Can I change this string value into integer or float? Will it make sense? No, right? So with string value, I cannot use functions like integer or float. That is why they say this. Okay. So some functions or methods in Python expect a certain data type. You cannot pass a string into a function that is expecting a float. So we have these basic data types: integer, float, boolean, string. Integer is a whole number, can be negative, 4, 3029. All these are integer values. Float is a decimal value. A number that contains a decimal can also be negative. Boolean, a condition of true and false. Capitalization matters. So T is capital and F is capital here. And string. It's a set of characters that are enclosed in quotation marks. Okay, double quote, single quote, and triple quote can include numbers, letters, and special characters. So whatever we want to include within these quotes, it can be anything. Okay, it can be a letter, a number, some special character. As long as they are enclosed in quotes, it is a string. Okay, for example, here I am a string 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is a string. I have 56 sheep. All of these are string values. Numbers inside a string are still a string. Python does not consider them to be integer or float since we enclose string in quotes. All right. So we have other types of data types also. Some of the data types are mutable and some of the data types are immutable. Okay. Mutable means changeable. We can change data types. And there are certain data types that we cannot change. So the data types that we can change are list, set, dictionary, and byte array data types in Python. And immutable data types are integer, float, complex, string, tuple, and frozen set. So mutable means changeable. In Python, some data types are mutable and others are immutable. Okay, so these are all the mutable data types and these are immutable data types. How do we convert data types? Just like I showed you, okay, I have this value. Um, 7th. If I want to change it to float, I'm going to use the float function. So 7.0. So now the integer is changed into float. This is how we change the data type. Okay, that is what they explain here. Python has specific commands that you can use to change an object from one data type to another. Float, we have this float method, int method. Okay. Using int is not the same as rounding. It only removes any decimal digit that the number has. It does not round the decimal number up or down. So be careful. It will give you whatever is in front of the decimal value. Okay. When you use int method to change float into int. Strings, all these are string values, guys. Strings contain text, which can be a single character or a paragraph of text. Strings are characters that are enclosed between quotation marks. Strings can contain numbers. The ways of notating a string are single quote, double quote, and triple quote. We can concatenate string, concatenating string as in combining two strings together. Okay, when we want to combine two strings, that is what concatenation is, guys. We use the addition operator plus sign here. Since strings are immutable, not changeable, when you manipulate them, you create a new string. So I have these two strings. I am a string and me too. I can add them to create a new string. Okay, so I can concatenate them. We can concatenate and add strings together, which creates a new string. It is possible to create an empty string also. So in the quotes, you don't pass anything. That is what an empty string is. Okay. So if you want a space between the words of your new string, you must add it into one of the original string. Otherwise, Python adds them as is without inserting a space between them. Just like here, I'm a string. There's no space here, me too. Since we haven't passed any space when we pass these two strings. So hi, hello, this is concatenation. Can you see? I've concatenated two strings. Similarly, I can add 2 plus 2 gives me 4 here. 4 plus 8 gives me 12 here. This is addition of numbers. Okay. Variables, I have already told you, okay, how we work with variables. Okay. So let's say I have x is equals to 3 and y is equals to 7 and z is equals to x plus y. And when I print z here, it gives me 10. Okay. So it is fetching the value of x and y from here 3 plus 7, storing at as z's value. When I print z, it gives me 10. Clear this much? guys, everyone. So we'll carry on from here tomorrow. Okay, from variables only. Okay, time is up. All right, so that is it for today. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We'll carry on from here tomorrow. Okay, revise whatever we have covered. All right, bye, guys.
Thank you,
Bye.
madam.
Thank you,
All right,
madam.
bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.